everyone, it's Irit with another process video, and I started today with kind of a scrap lift of a layout that Wilna Furstenberg did on her art and design class over at Big Picture Classes. And the first week was all about grids, and she did one layout where she used I'm not sure if it was these frames or other frames, but chipboard frames, I'm pretty sure from crate paper. And yeah, so I wanted to create something similar. I had these frames from the July hip kit. We got a partial package, but it was still like so many, and after this layout I also have a few left for at least another layout. And yeah, so I started to play around, and I actually like the idea of those three frames in each other, but yeah, eventually it just didn't really work for my layout, so I just use three frames for my finished page. And just all these pretty soft colors made me want to play with my gelatos, so I picked a few colors that coordinated, and they just come in the most beautiful colors, the gelatos. It's really fun to play with them. And I wanted to create some like drippage on my page, which is one of the, I think, most simple and fun things to do with gelatos. Now, Wilna uses a lot of gelatos, and I don't think she ever uses gesso before she puts them on her like cardstock backgrounds, and it always looks beautiful. But when I try this, I mean using gelatos without gesso, it just doesn't look as pretty on my pages for some reason. Must be the Wilna touch. But so that's why I like to prep my paper with gesso, even though it's another step and you have to wait. But I usually or always put a very thin layer of gesso with a palette knife, and it dries. By the time I'm done, it's almost dry, and if it's not, then it needs about 5 seconds with a heat gun to be dry. So it's not like you have to wait overnight or something like that. So I don't mind that extra step. And for me, when I use gesso, the gelatos really flow on the page, which is especially important when I want to create this drippage, which you will see how I make it. So I just printed a few photos from our trip last June. We were in Switzerland. Also, we drove back from France through Switzerland back to Austria. And yeah, it's just, this page is, we took this, I don't know, I guess it's not really a train, like a cable car, I guess. No, it's not a cable car because there was no cable. It's kind of like a train, but it's just the one cart, and it's just a one rail, and it goes up into the mountains and then back down on the same yeah, track. It just goes up and down like, I don't know, 2 times an hour, something like that. So and it was, you know, we were driving home, and it was like in the direction home. I think we were still 3 days or 4 days before we actually got home. But you know, we didn't plan this. We just drove and we saw it and we went in, and that's probably, you know, I really love to travel like that. I don't recommend to do that because, you know, you will miss out on a lot of great things if you don't plan ahead and you don't check what, you know, what are the best attractions or things to do where you're going. But it's still nice to be more flexible and just go with the flow, and, you know, see something that looks cool, stop and do it. So we went on this track, which was really, really steep. I think at some point you can't see anything. It's like over 90 degrees. It's like really insane. And you just go into the mountains in Switzerland, and then at the end of the track you can walk around. There's like this little alpine lake, and the water have this beautiful milky light blue emerald color. It was really beautiful, and mountains around. It's just gorgeous. So we did that, and these are a few photos from the from this train cart, and that's what I journaled about. So with the gelatos, I just smeared them. There's not a lot of like fancy stuff here. Just put them on, and then I really like to use a spray bottle and let the colors run. I think it just looks beautiful, and it's just, yeah, I don't get the same lovely effect when I try and use a brush or even my fingers, so I just go with a spray, and because I put gesso on my page, I know I can use more water and it's not gonna sip through and ruin the cardstock. And yeah, and then I wasn't sure because the other stuff that I have left from the July kit, it's just that the colors, I kind of used the items from the kit I already used that had like the colors that fit more, so more these pale yellows and pinks, and so I just went to my stash, and I think what I ended up using was, I think, just the vellum from Crate Paper, and it's from the Oh Darling collection, I'm pretty sure about that, and I mostly grabbed the hearts in colors that coordinated, and then a couple of these small like half doilies that look really cute and just matched perfectly the frames, so that was nice. And even though the frames are actually from the Open Road collection from Crate Paper, but you see that like the same company, a lot of the times different collections, you can mix and match them, and they really work lovely together. So I just went with these vellum accents. I love vellum, and I love that Crate Paper makes these whole packages just with vellum, and in this page they are really the kind of the only embellishment. And I also used, we got these fun words, they are lawn fawn, and I'm not sure, they came with embellishment add-on kit, I think for July hip kit, and I love to color match, that's like my thing. And you know, in such a page where I actually only had these frames, you know, I didn't have any pattern papers, and I only had the frames and the gelatos to kind of guide me to, you know, what else to put on the page. It's a really easy road for me to just try and color match, and I thought these wood veneer words would work, would look fun with the page, and I just colored them to match, and I used distress paint, and it was actually, I only had to mix one color, but the other colors really matched nicely. I think the like off-white that I used was antique linen, and I think also the pink is spun sugar, and then the other shade I kind of mixed, but it turned out really well at the end. Of course you could also paint these with gelatos, but then I would recommend to put, even though the gelatos are opaque, but I would still recommend to put a layer of gesso on the wood veneer before you add the gelatos. The color will be truer, so try and do that. And now I'm gonna do something a little weird, because this is like one layout and I'm talking about a story that is connected to another layout, which was my last video, but I started to tell the story of the pizza, and some of the lovely comments were people actually wanting to know the rest of that story, so yeah, I have to go on. And no, it's just, you know, it's funny because you get something in your head and you make such an effort to try and find it, and something that, you know, Italian pizza shouldn't be a problem to get, but for some reason it was. And if you want to have a better idea of what I'm talking about, check out my previous video, and we had a a weird one-day vacation in Italy. But one of the things we wanted was to get pizza, and in the first evening that didn't really work out. And then the next day, our car broke down in the middle of the highway. So while we were waiting for the mechanics to figure out what was wrong, we asked if there was like a pizzeria around, and they directed us. It was like some nowhere small town in Italy, probably a place. It looked very nice, but probably a place I would have never seen if our car hadn't died. And so we went to this pizzeria, and it looked very nice, and they had this like, pizza oven, and it looked like very authentic, like a place you would never get to just as a tourist, like from your guidebooks or something. And it was lunch, and they didn't serve pizza for lunch. They served pretty much everything else on the menu. So that was again a bust. And then when it was already time for dinner, we were still like waiting around for stuff at the same place to figure out how we're going to get a rental car. By the time it was again open for dinner and serving pizza, that restaurant, we had to rush because the rental agency at the airport, which was an hour away, was closing at 8, and we had to get there before that. So that was again a bust. And then we got the rental car, and we started driving back home. It was already almost 8 in the evening, and we had at least 4 hours of driving. And so we thought, okay, maybe now we can get like pizza for dinner. And for us it's not a big deal, but when you have kids you can't just skip meals. And we just wanted to eat something, and then our daughter could fall asleep and hopefully sleep for the rest of the way, which it did. So, but we were like in the middle of nowhere that we knew in Italy, and we were driving around, and we just wanted to get on the highway. So we didn't want to stop before we did that. It was already kind of dark, and the roads are really dark in these small places. So we got on the highway, and then we kind of stopped at the first stop on the highway. And there you have like these restaurants on the highway that are usually ridiculously overpriced and not very exciting. And they had a pizza, and we had a pizza, and it was probably the most pathetic Italian pizza in Italy. So that was a bit disappointing, but that was it. So we couldn't actually get a good Italian pizza. But what are you gonna do? And I don't have anything else to say about that, besides that I love pizza, and it's a really, really great food to eat. So back to the page, I showed you how I used like the tiny attacher from Tim Holtz to attach some of the vellum pieces. I just think it looks really great, and vellum looks great when it's layered, because it's a little bit transparent. And I just like color coordinated, put the pink next to the pink frame and the yellow next to the yellow frame. And I also used a couple of chipboard hearts from Studio Calico, and I matted this whole white paper on a piece of crate paper, pattern paper. This is also from the Oh Darling. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this layout. So thank you so much for watching. I will have more layouts coming out in probably over the weekend. I'll manage to upload 1 or 2 more videos. And besides my YouTube channel, you can find me on my blog. There's a link. I will put it also in the information box under the video, but there's also a link from my my channel page, my YouTube channel page. There's like a link there. And I am also on the Nicole Jones 911 Facebook group, which is a really, really great group. And I think that's it. I started the university semester here, and it's been an interesting experience. I will make a page for this for sure, and I think I will compare it to my first day in university in Israel, which was 14 years ago, believe it or not. So this is a never-ending experience. But yeah, it's all good. So here are a few still photos of the layout. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day. Bye.